This is big breaking emergency news. The federal government has seized a major bank, and this could be the start of a banking collapse scenario. This could be the trigger to see more banks, and we've been getting these warnings for a few weeks now that we could see major banks starting to collapse and fold. All right, so this is big that this is happening. The federal government is seizing all of this bank's assets, and this is potentially leaving people in limbo for a bit until they get all of their accounts transferred over and everything like that. This is what happened last year. We are seeing a replay of this same scenario happen, and people could have their money tied up potentially for weeks. Hopefully it doesn't take that long. Hopefully it's a smooth transition, right? But they are seizing banks right now, and this is why we have this US debt clock right here in the background. All right, I thought this was appropriate to have to check on really quick because this is the current situation of our country. So let's get into the details here really quick. Please hit that like, hit that subscribe. I'm posting multiple videos a day, keeping you guys updated on this big breaking news. Right, so you can see here, this is our current situation with our country. We'll come back to this and dive into this a little bit more, but just some of the big numbers: 34 trillion, right? And interest on the national debt too, $814 billion a year, almost $1 trillion a year just on interest. Interest rates are insane right now. It's slowing down everything. We're getting stagflation warnings as well at the same time that we're having banking collapses. All right, so you can see here, it says regulators set to seize troubled Philadelphia Bank Republic First. All right, so this is what's happening right now. This article was just posted, and you can actually see here on the FDIC website, it says Fulton Bank of Lancaster, Pennsylvania assumes substantially all deposits of Republic First Bank, Philadelphia. All right, so they're already selling this bank off. They're seizing all the assets, and this is happening right now. You can see here, April 26, 2024. And this could be the start of more banks collapsing, more banks having their assets frozen and moved around. And you have to set up new accounts, figure everything out. Some people get lost in the mix here, right? This is a very messy situation that we're dealing with. And another thing we have to think about is that the FDIC only assumes and backs up $250,000, which is a lot of money. But some people have businesses. Some people have their life savings in these banks, and they think they can trust them to be secure, and we're learning that potentially they're not secure. All right, they've backed up all the funds to this point, but they only have to back up 250,000. That's their limit. All right, so this is big. We could see more banks starting to collapse soon as well, and this is why it's critical to have cash on hand. Right, you need to have some cash. You need to have some kind of alternative currencies as well. Gold coins, silver coins, right? Silver dollars. All these things are going to be valuable in the future if there's ever a banking collapse scenario, not to mention all the banking glitches and things that we've seen as well. Remember, I reported on just a few days ago, if you guys didn't see, there were nationwide banking outages for online banking, and people that were making deposits and transferring money, all their money was getting tied up and locked up, and nobody could get into their accounts. Right, that was happening with Chase Bank just a couple days ago. So there's multiple threat vectors that we're dealing with here that you should be prepared for, right? And I don't want these things to happen. I don't want a bank run to happen. I don't want a banking collapse to happen. I don't want any type of cyber attack to happen. But it seems like that's the season that we are in. All right, so be on high alert, be on red alert, and everyone has to use a bank, right? But maybe diversify, have a couple different banks at different accounts if you can, and keep different money in them in case one of the banks go under like this, or they face some type of cyber event as well. All right, you can also see here that we're getting warnings that the US economy is barreling towards stagflation, an outcome worse than recession. Right? And this is, if you've been watching my videos, every time we talk about these financial situations, I warn you guys, we're already in stagflation. The country right now, we're having hyperinflated prices. Everything's going up. Food's going up. Eating out's going up. The price of every little thing you buy is going up. Everything's locked up now. Right? I went to the hardware store trying to buy some Allen wrenches, some Allen keys, and just a little pack of them, a little $10 thing of them. The entire area was locked up, and I had to get someone to help at the hardware store. Right? They had everything locked up. This is crazy. And this is like a pretty small town. So, all right, so we're having inflation. Prices are going up, but there's no growth. Normally with inflation, it's like, well, at least there's growth. At least it's raising all the tides. We're getting paid more. People are at least making more money to deal with the inflation, and businesses are doing better. There's no growth right now as well. Right? The economy is on life support right now. You can see here it says the first quarter growth fell well behind estimates, rising at an annualized rate of 1.6%, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, which is terrible. 1.6% growth. Think about it. Inflation that they admit is 7 to 10%. At least. That's what they admit. On some things, it's 20%. And over the past few years, it's 200% on certain items. But our growth is only 1.6%. So you'd think we'd at least have like 5% growth with 7 to 10% inflation. At least like nothing's happening. There's no growth. The economy is shrinking and collapsing while everything's hyperinflating and costing more. Right? This is not a good sign. And this is potentially the beginning stages of the collapsing of the US dollar. Right? And it's due to things like this. This is why I have this up here. All right? The national debt is skyrocketing. All right? We're also implementing sanctions nationwide, or worldwide. Implementing sanctions all over the world, and countries are opting out of our economic systems. They do not want to hold dollars any longer because they know that these dollars could be frozen or taken in the event that the US wants to implement sanctions on them or some kind of economic pressure on them. That's what the US has been doing. That's been a part of their policy. All right, that's the status of the US reserve currency. They have that power. But when the power is pushed too far, people opt out of it. And countries have been ditching the dollar like crazy, right? So we are running out of people to sell this debt to. It's becoming toxic. Other countries are not buying our debt. That's why they're having to raise interest rates even more. We thought they would go down. They raised them even more just recently, up to 8%, right? And this is because nobody is buying the debt. So they have to raise it to make the debt more interesting and incentivizing for investors, because they know that with inflation, their gains are just going to be wiped out anyways, right? Even with this interest, it's not sustainable. All right, so please hit it up for me down there. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, guys. It helps to get these warnings out, and people need to know our banks are teetering on the edge right now. This is not a good sign, and you need to be prepared. We could see a multitude of things, and one of these big events is potentially going to trigger a cascading event for other things. And if we see problems with the US dollar, we see a collapsing event, a bank crisis, a banking run, right? Where everyone's trying to get their money out, but the money's just not there. That could be one of the triggers for all this other stuff that's barely being held back right now. Civil unrest, societal chaos, all these things, the supply chain crisis, all these different things that we're dealing with that we're hanging on by threads, hanging on, right? Barely hanging on. Those things could fold if the US dollar folds as well. And I'm telling you, if you try to go to a bank right now and you try to get out any type of money, anything over like $1,000, they're going to be struggling to give you the money. They're going to be trying to put it off. If you try to get out multiple thousands of dollars, if you're trying to buy whatever, trying to buy an RV, trying to buy a tractor, a car, some kind of equipment, something, you need some cash. And they will struggle to get it to you. They will try to make you schedule it, right? All this stuff, they'll try to make you call in and come get it at a certain time, and they'll try to say, we really don't have that much money right now. They will really, it's a struggle to get money from these banks right now. And it seems like they're not meeting their reserve capacity limits that they should be holding up to, right? They should have a certain amount of cash on hand. And from my experience and from other people I've seen online too, saying the same thing, that they really hold your money up. They do not want to give you cash right now, right? And this is all leading us towards the CBDC, the central banking digital currency. And look at this just going up in the background. Look at these numbers, just, it never ends. It never ends. We're sending hundreds of billions of dollars all over the world right now, right? There's all these wars going on, all this chaos going on. And this is what's really happening to America. We're crumbling, and it does not look good, right? So let me know what you guys think of this current situation. This is not a good look for the US or for our banking sectors, right? We could potentially see this banking risk spread to more banks, and they were just warning last month, or just a few weeks ago, maybe earlier this month. I made a whole video on it, how the feds were warning that Wall Street banks are going to potentially be collapsing soon, right? They were saying that these local banks are set to crumble, right? So not a good look, and they're going to bring us closer to the central banking digital currency. This is what it's all about, because once we're at that point, then the federal government can track and trace, and everything we buy will be connected to this, and they will be able to program the currency. All right, it's going to be moving us towards this beast system when the dollar does collapse. All right, we're going to have a beast-like system, or potentially the beast system, come out of this collapse and have everything tracked and traced and monitored, and you have to opt into this system to be a part of the monetary supply, and there's no workaround, right? That's the point of these CBDCs, is that they know exactly where every dollar is, right? They know exactly where every single dollar was transferred to which person, which wallet, which account it went to. It's all tracked and traced and centralized, and they can look into it, right? And they know exactly everything bought, sold, and they can program it so you cannot buy certain products, certain things that they don't want you to have access to, right? That's what we're moving towards right now, whether it's legal or not. Even things like rationing foods, certain foods, like they don't want you to eat meat something along these lines. All that stuff is coming soon in the aftermath of a dollar collapse, right? So it seems like the train's being allowed to run off the rails. There's just nobody watching. And it seems like it could just be because nobody's worried about it, because it's just the excuse to implement the CBDC in the aftermath of this event, right? And then if something like that happens, they can program it and manipulate it for inflation, right? There's hyperinflation going on. Don't worry, we can reprogram the money so it looks like there's no inflation. We'll work everyone's bank account at once and we'll get rid of the inflation, right? All these things, they're going to really sell. It'll be security as well. These banking collapses won't happen anymore because we'll be able to track and trace and keep an eye on these banksters from collapsing these banks, which is a real problem. People are putting all their money into these banks, billions of dollars, billions and billions, some of them hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars, and they're gambling with the money. Some of these banks are. They're gambling, they're doing crazy stuff with the money, and they lose it all. And that's why the feds keep stepping in and shutting down these banks. That's what keeps happening, right? So this is a real issue, but the solution is going to be, this is how we track that money. We're not going to let these bankers invest into funny stuff and sketchy stuff in their own businesses and projects and steal the money. We're going to have it all tracked and traced, right? That's how they're going to sell it. So there's going to be real issues, but you're going to have to give up this entire monetary privacy, right? So thank you guys. Hope you have big blessings for your life, your family. Hope you're getting ready, getting prepared. Get these alternative systems. Work on your homestead. I'm looking at my chickens right now, all right, out here in the yard. This is what we're working on, creating these alternative forms of food, supply chains, all these things, energy that you can have to not be connected to the system in case there's a collapse. You still have your stuff going strong. If there's a dollar collapse and a new system is brought in on top of it, you can try to maintain and opt out of it as much as you can. All right, so thank you guys, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.